say thank you to you and to Georgetown University. It's always an honor to come back to your alma mater and to share some thoughts. And I want to thank the co-panelists here. I just had the pleasure of spending 2 hours in the Roosevelt Room at the White House with President Biden, Vice President Harris, the King family, and some 12 to 15 civil rights leaders to share with the president and reflect on the moment and talk about the issues that are so prevalent today with respect. So that meeting, which was planned many weeks ago, turned into a discussion stemming from what happened in Jacksonville. The stark reminder that racially motivated hate and violence is too common in America today. You know, whether it was Jacksonville or Buffalo, the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh, El Paso, Mother Emanuel Church, I could continue to go on. How can violence be such a weapon so common to affect our fellow citizens? So that has been bearing and waiting on my mind. As I left the march, I was proud to speak on Saturday. My late predecessor, the great Whitney M. Young, was one of the original Big Six leaders who helped to convene the march. I stood sort of on his shoulders at the march. As soon as I returned to my hotel room and turned on television, there it was. And then 1 minute later, my phone rang, and it was Assistant Attorney General Kristen Clark who informed me. She said, "I'm giving you a heads up that we think we have a racially motivated hate crime in Jacksonville." I said, "I'm looking at it on the news, but they're not saying racially motivated as of yet." It is a reminder of where we are. I just want to make a couple of other points in the opening. It was shared with us the role that the Catholic Archbishop of Washington played in the 1963 March. I'm born and baptized in the Catholic Church. The Catholic faith that I adhere to is a Catholic faith that honors, respects, and places social justice, racial justice, and economic justice as a primary tenet of our faith. I appeal to those of you who are of the Catholic faith to not allow the continued diminution of that as a fundamental principle of Catholicism in second or third place from other issues that may be very important. It is very critical, and I think you mentioned it, that the faiths, all faiths of America, meet this moment of racially motivated violence, the effort to undermine American democracy that we face in this nation today. We have to meet this moment with will, with passion, and with truly a great and powerful commitment. 60 years ago was a seminal moment in American history. It was perhaps one of the most important moments in American history. We have got to recognize that in this moment, as we gathered for the 60th anniversary, that as much as we can celebrate steps forward and progress and things that we are proud of, it is untenable and shocking to me that there is still so much work left to be done, and that there are still forces in this nation and forces across the globe that seem to want to live in an era long past. We have to be united in our commitment to a nation and a world based on the values of inclusion, opportunity, justice, and tolerance for all. So thank you so much for having me today. Look forward to the discussion.
Thank you. Could one of my colleagues close the door?
To sometimes go to a mass and listen to a sermon or homily that never mentions racial justice or economic justice that waxes in the abstract and doesn't speak to the moment. And since I have an opportunity to worship in all sorts of faith traditions, you know, we have to acknowledge here we're at this great Catholic university, and I'm born and raised Catholic, the fact that in some cases the leadership of the church is missing this moment, missing their responsibility today. And I say it because I want them to hear it, that they don't interpret what Martin Luther King did so brilliantly, is that he took the teachings of the Bible and the teachings of the Constitution and he wove them together in a manifesto of American values. So he was speaking to people of all faiths, but speaking to Christians especially, and speaking to those of us who love the Constitution and love the constitutional traditions and the effort to make the Constitution meaningful for all people. And I think we have to acknowledge that I would be remiss in this moment if I didn't challenge the establishment of the church to embrace the president of this university did something courageous several years ago when he acknowledged the role that this institution has played, and you talked about it. The North American Jesuits have made a substantial commitment.
Yeah.
There are some examples out there, but by and large, the Catholic faith today and the organized and established Catholic leadership have not lived up to what I think are my expectations to speak to these issues in their official capacity and to challenge. I'm going to make one last thing, because this is really important. I really want to say this because this is an example. So in my hometown, in New Orleans, in 1956, 2 years after Brown, the Catholic Archbishop of New Orleans, an archbishop by the name of Joseph Francis Roman, 2 years after Brown, issued a encyclical and sought to desegregate the Catholic schools in New Orleans. He faced a vicious backlash, including an effort to boycott, pickets at his home, full-page ads in the paper condemning the church. He backed off a bit, and the schools were not integrated until the first year I attended Catholic schools in New Orleans in 1963. But let me tell you what he did in 1960, 61, 62, 63. He excommunicated resegregationist politicians. He had the courage and the conviction to excommunicate them for their actions. See, that's real courage.
Thank you.
Cardinal Ritter did that in St. Louis. But let me say